You're watching and listening to a CNA TV and CNA 938 radio simulcast on Singapore's Budget 2026. I'm Hairianto Diman.
And I'm Andrea Heng.
Now, Prime Minister Lawrence Wong delivered Budget 2026 yesterday. It is a significant step towards securing Singapore's future in a more uncertain world, refreshing the economy, harnessing AI, building a skilled workforce, and strengthening security.
That's right. The budget also rolls out broad support for Singaporeans and relief for businesses while investing in families and seniors as Singapore navigates its next phase together. Joining us live in the CNA 938 studio for this simulcast is Singapore's Second Minister for Finance, Indranee Rajah, on the Morning Report. She's also Minister in the Prime Minister's office. Good to have you with us, Miss Indranee.
Hi. Morning, everyone.
All right. So just curious, Miss Indranee, do you use AI for your work? is there, I mean, I'm going to confess, we use ChatGPT and Gemini in our work, and we're not going to lie, but we have guardrails, of course. What do you use?
I mean, I use it a little.
Okay.
But I think that I could definitely be doing a lot more. It's particularly useful, I think, when you want first cuts, when you want insights. And here's the key thing, right? As PM said in his speech yesterday, AI is a tool. It is not a substitute for human judgment and discernment. It's about how you prompt it to give you a draft or certain answers, but the final outcome requires the human being. So the key message I wanted to get out to everybody, which is part of budget, is that AI should be for everyone. It's not going to replace workers, but it is meant to help you and to enable you.
Indeed, AI is seen and regarded to be the centerpiece of this budget, right, Ms. Indranee, culminating in PM Wong announcing the new National AI Council. He'll be chairing this council. I mean, he's going to be a very busy man. Now, besides urgency, Minister, what is the signal that PM Wong is sending by undertaking the lead for the National AI Council?
The signal he's sending is that this is a very important strategic direction for Singapore. We want to make sure that Singapore is tech-enabled. Remember, we have a, aging population, low TFR, economic pressures. And so you want to be able to maximize as much as you can of technology and innovation. And AI is a very important part of that. And AI is going to be is part of what we call a horizontal. It infuses across all different sectors. So we want Singaporeans to not be left behind in this, so that it will become part and parcel of everyday life, almost the same way as, we are using email and smartphones. Remember the time before email and the time before smartphones? We would never have envisaged that one day, you'd just be connected to everything through your phone. We're at that stage now for AI, and we want to make sure that AI is infused in everyday life, but most importantly, that people feel comfortable using it.
So that's on an individual level. You want Singaporeans to be almost at one with AI, right? It being a very pivotal and essential part of our lives almost. What impact will this have on the investor and research confidence as well? Because we want to be this AI hub, not just in Asia, not just in ASEAN, but globally as well. And there's a lot of push that was announced by Prime Minister Wong about this. So how's that going? How's this now going to attract more investors and researchers to come here, base themselves here, so that we can be at that forefront?
That's right. So, of course, we've got the AI Council, which PM will chair. And the fact that he's chairing it sends a very important signal. He has a deep personal interest in this. Then the second thing was the AI missions that was touched on. And the whole idea behind that is to attract and anchor AI research, AI development, AI companies, and have a whole AI ecosystem here in Singapore. So it's two things, right? You want to do all of that, and at the same time you have the individuals, and then hopefully Singapore will become the place where AI is seamlessly infused into research, business, and everyday life.
I'm glad you brought up the National AI Mission, Minister. Let's touch on that. So it will see 4 sectors: advanced manufacturing, connectivity, finance and healthcare, harnessing new tech, including AI. What's the thought process in selecting these specific sectors?
Well, these are sectors that will grow, and they're going to need more manpower, more effort, right? And given our manpower constraints, it makes a lot of sense to leverage AI in these sectors.
Okay. So you oversee the professional services of the legal and accountancy sectors here in Singapore. Through your work overseeing these sectors, how has the AI adoption, but also the deployment been in these areas? What can you share with us?
The promising thing is that many legal and accounting firms are already using AI and exploring it. The flip side is that this is patchy, meaning that there's some who are not yet on board. So for those who are not yet on board, we will have to do more to encourage them, and hopefully some of the initiatives in this budget will provide that kind of encouragement for them to come on board. But you can already see how using AI can save a lot of time. So in the legal context, for example, can be used for first drafts. It can be used for analysis. It basically shortens the time that it would have taken maybe 3 or 4 lawyers to go through all the documents, right? Here you can have a first cut. But again, the message is it's not a substitute for the human judgment, because remember there was this case that was reported where a lawyer, not in Singapore, in another country, submitted a case after he had used AI for research. Then it was found out that the case was fake, it wasn't real. So, you have to be careful.
We do want to avoid that sort of cases from happening, right, Minister? Now, Minister, one of the biggest challenges when it comes to AI adoption and deployment is doing at scale, right? Some would call our national AI mission ambitious. How do you address the sheer scale of this effort?
When you have something that is very big and huge, the best way to approach it is breaking it down into its constituent parts.
Okay.
And you can see that the budget does that. First, you need an overall direction. Hence, AI Council providing the steering for the direction. Then you have the AI missions that looks at specific sectors. Then we have, the initiative where companies can train their people for AI, and government will support that. And then you want everyday use from citizens. So it's not too different from the way we approach sustainability, if you think about it, when we had the SG Green Plan. You start off with different segments, and then you work on each one. Then you pull the pieces together so that you can all move together in one direction.
Well, speaking of putting pieces together into one big piece, one of the major announcements that was made yesterday by Prime Minister Wong was the merger of Workforce Singapore and Skills Future Singapore. I could have thought of that earlier, but no, but I mean, this is purely coming from a worker's standpoint, right? Because I think Skills Future came up at a certain point in time in Singapore's journey, so did Workforce Singapore. So PM Wong said the objective of embedding lifelong learning is in the education system has been achieved. We are there. We have arrived. Now, how do we make it better, right? And how do we uplift not just our IHLs, but also the adults in the learning space, right? So if this objective has in fact been achieved, why this merger now? I mean, what's the objective of merging now, and what is it meant to serve? What's the purpose it's meant to serve as a combined unit?
This question brings back memories because I was at MOE at the time when Skills Future started.
That's right.
And at that time, people forget, but at that time, this idea of lifelong learning wasn't deeply embedded in our consciousness. And Skills Future was the start of that. So there were 2 twin imperatives that were going on at that time. One was how to get people to take on board lifelong learning, and the other was job assistance.
Right.
So Workforce Singapore's mission was job assistance and job matching, career coaching. Skills Future was about learning new courses, learning at different stages in life. And we started out with that initial Skills Future credit, which could be used for a whole range of things, just to instill that idea that you can learn something new at any age.
That's right.
And then after that, there were different types of Skills Future credits and Skills Future Award, where it was much more targeted for workplace learning. So that part of the program, that Skills Future program, to help people take on board lifelong learning and to make it almost part and parcel of, the Singaporean DNA, that has gone very well. And I think people now don't think twice about that lifelong learning.
Yeah.
But then you also want to make sure that lifelong learning, in many cases, must also align better with job opportunities.
Yeah.
And jobs are also changing. So what you may be doing today and your skill sets for today may not be sufficient for tomorrow. And then you need to learn new things, right? So this merger will bring the two in alignment and enable us to fuse learning as well as job opportunities better.
Minister, I'm curious now, will this merger send a signal that, learning a skill under Skills Future is now more than just out of pure interest or the desire to learn a new skill, and that the skills training has to translate into job outcomes?
Real job outcomes. Yeah.
I think the whole beauty of Skills Future is that it can be both.
Okay.
For many people, it's about jobs and upskilling, and that should be a key focus. But if you want to do Skills Future just to be able to do flower arrangement for the appreciation of it, or something else that you've always wanted to do but never had a chance to, why not?
Yeah. I know we talked about this earlier on air, on radio, but I think for the benefit of our TV audience out there, I want to bring back a memory. Speaking of memories, I want to bring back another memory. This time last year, we asked you about how you would use your Skills Future credit. So Hairianto has used his to do personal training. So it's Mr. Fitness guy here. I have taken Mandarin because I'm part Chinese, so I have to shore up my Mandarin skills. But I also took up dressmaking, and it's making me think about an alternative career or maybe a semi-retirement sort of thing, right? I hope my boss isn't listening to this. You have me for some time yet.
You can do both.
Yes, exactly. So we remember when we asked you this last year, you wanted to talk about going for a graphic design course, and now with AI in the mix, has that changed your goal of how you're going to use your Skills Future?
That aspiration hasn't changed, but I don't think I have time to do it just yet. But I just want to highlight one interesting thing, because you raised this. Do you know which is the most popular Skills Future course?
Oh, no.
I would imagine like a language class.
Actually, no. I think it might be, I don't know, Microsoft Excel or something.
No, it's the AI-related courses.
Oh, really?
Okay.
So there's been a lot of traction for AI.
That's right.
Well done. Okay.
Which means that Singaporeans are thinking about it, and they want to know how to use AI better.
Yeah. Which means we're in a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's in our consciousness now.
Yeah, indeed. Minister, the estimated 154.7 billion budget to support Singaporeans and ensure economic progress in a time of global uncertainty. Now, it means less on CDC vouchers perhaps, but more on economic resilience. Will we see the gap between expenditure and surplus narrowing moving forward? Is this going to be a new reality for Singapore and Singaporeans moving forward?
Right. That's a good question, and thank you for raising that. At yesterday's budget, PM said that we have a budget surplus of $15 billion. There are not many countries in the world who are in this position, and it is in many ways an enviable position to be in. There are many other countries who wish that they would be in this position. I would have to say that this is not a foregone conclusion. It was not inevitable that we would arrive here. And the question is, how was that possible? It was really a result of fiscal prudence and a very disciplined focus previous budgets. Because if you think about it, we're now in a position where we can do a lot more. But how did we get here? The just go back 5-6 years. Those were our darkest hours.
Mm.
It was COVID.
Yeah.
It was negative growth.
Yeah.
We were in big deficit. We had to take several steps, and we had a twofold strategy. One was aging population. We had to make sure that we could secure revenue for our healthcare costs. So we took the difficult step of having to raise GST, but 60% of GST actually comes from the higher income earners, the tourists, the employment pass people. Then 40% from Singaporeans. But for Singaporeans, we took steps to buffer them with the assurance package and effectively defer the GST for them, right?
Yeah.
But having done that move, it means that we secured the revenue for our healthcare and gave us breathing space.
Yep.
Then in the previous budgets, we also channeled a lot of money towards growing the business environment.
Yeah.
And you can see that in this year's budget, the bulk of the surplus has come from increased collections from corporate income tax, which means companies are doing well.
Yeah.
And that means that it's the business conditions in Singapore for companies to do well were there. And that, I think, is a result of moves in previous budgets and also to attract businesses here. The end result is we can breathe a bit more easy on healthcare and assurance for old age. And we now have more fiscal space and more firepower to be able to do more for Singaporeans.
Yeah, I think that's a good takeaway. The fact that we're trying to make room for breathing space fiscally as well. Thank you for distilling all of this information for us here today, Miss Indranee. Thank you so much for being here as well.
Thanks for having me.
That's Miss Indranee Rajah, Singapore's second Minister for Finance. She's also Minister in the Prime Minister's Office, joining us for a conversation on the Singapore Budget 2026 here on The Morning Report. This has been a special CNA TV and CNA 938 simulcast. I'm Andrea Heng.
And I'm Hairianto Diman. Thank you for joining us.